Hi, I'm Jarrus Steele, and I'm the owner of Go Green Flooring in Boulder, Colorado. And I almost got scammed.
But before we hear Jarrus's story, a reenactment of an everyday scam. On a day just like any other day, the phone for your store rings, and your RSA answers.
Chris is Fine Flooring. This is Chris. How may I help you today?
Hey Chris, I have a job and I need some vinyl planks.
Okay, sounds great. What color are you looking for and how much do you need?
I was looking at your website and I need about 3,000 square feet in winter gray.
When do you need this by? I have some vinyl planks in stock for $250 a square foot.
Can I pay online and pick it up today? I see you have a pay online option. I just need it as soon as possible for a last minute job.
Now, this is what we would call red flag. An online buyer, generic product, and needs it as soon as possible. What do you think, referee Christine?
Time out. Something is starting to sound a little fishy. Let's ask some questions to better qualify the opportunity.
Before I write this order up, what room will this be installed? I want to make sure that I select the right product for the job.
Don't worry. I know the vinyl planks will work just fine. I actually have a contractor friend close by who can come and pick it up today. Can you have it ready in 2 hours?
Sure thing. Wow, this is the easiest sale ever.
Slow down there, sport. Someone else is picking up the product? We'd call this another red flag.
Someone who is not the customer is picking it up in just 2 hours? How many flooring sales have gone this well? Too easy? I think so.
My phone's actually about to die. Would you mind if I text you the details instead?
Of course, our number is 123-456-7890. Will you be using the credit card?
Yes. I'll text you my card number. Let me know if you have any problems. My guy will see you in 2 hours.
Wow, that was amazing. I can't believe the profit margin on this sale.
When there's a sweetheart deal that seems too good to be true, let's get some extra eyes on it before we release the product. Let's check in with Christine to see what things stood out as red flags.
There are so many red flags with this sale. The customer knew exactly what product he wanted. That's normal enough. But he has somebody else picking it up. As a business owner, you don't have any documentation, you don't have an ID, and you really don't know what this guy looks like. If it's too good to be true, it probably is. I'm suspecting fraud.
Let's check back in to see how this payment's going.
That's weird. It looks like the payments keep getting declined. Let me text this guy back.
Here we go. I'll get the sale to go through by setting in the ACH information.
There we go. The ACH went through.
Don't get too excited there, sport. This is another red flag. ACHs can get recalled. Another red flag.
The guy's here to pick up his order. Perfect timing. Damn, I'm good.
And that was the last time that anyone saw that product at Chris's Fine Flooring. Avoid these red flags and don't get scammed. Now back to Jarrus.
As many of you know, scams are running rampant throughout the flooring industry. And to help retailers avoid fraud and losing thousands of dollars, which we almost did, I've teamed up with Broadlume to tell a story about how I almost got scammed. And want to tell you a little bit about the red flags that we encountered and what to look for. We had a gentleman reach out to us over the phone and asked if someone could text him. So immediately we had another employee at the store that conversated with this individual through text. And these scams are getting super targeted and highly sophisticated. And it's a ring of people that are involved with this. So basically, the first thing was that this individual knew the exact product, brand, style, and color. He had quite an absorbent amount of square footage. So like it was like 2,500 square feet the first time. And then the second thing is he actually sent in a Colorado driver's license to us with his name and address and things. One thing to look out for is the driver's license did have a PO box for address, so that was one kind of red flag we saw. The other thing was they did do a DocuSign. Normal scammers will kind of just vanish after you ask them to sign any kind of paperwork, but in this case, he did sign a DocuSign that we provided to him. The other thing was, it was a large dollar amount, so it was $5,000, I think, the first order. We went ahead and processed the first order. He wanted to pick it up at the company's distribution center, which was in Denver. So we set that all up. He paid through the payment system. The first transaction was through credit card, and we went ahead and released the order to be picked up. So this individual went to our distributor, picked up the product, took it, and then he immediately emailed back and said, we want an additional order for another 2,000 square feet. They weren't exact amounts. Sometimes they were a little different. The first one was 2,500. Next one might have been like 2,000. So we looked through our payment system. Payment system said that it was successful. We had a little more trust in this individual because we had his driver's license and he was doing DocuSign. So my salesperson sent over another DocuSign, an order. He executed the DocuSign, the payment. This time it was ACH, I believe. And then we released the order at the distributor again. They came, picked it up. So that was like on a Friday. I came back in on a Monday, looked at the transactions on our payment system, and noticed that they had all failed. Basically, one was like insufficient funds at the bank. Another one was just a failed charge. So I dug in a little deeper into the payment system, and I matched up the customer's PII, so the personal identifying information, to the actual guy, the individual that ordered it. And they were completely different names, like Barbara Smith in Omaha, Nebraska. So immediately then I knew we had got scammed. This individual actually emailed us that morning wanting another order. So this was the third order. I believe one of my salespersons wrote back and said, basically, if you want to order more, you're going to need to come into the store personally and bring us a credit card. And I was sitting back thinking about it, and I said, I knew we were scammed. I knew there was no way we were going to recover that product. I had an idea. We could release another order, and we could put a name tag into the box. So we kind of communicated and orchestrated this plan with the distributor and a couple of employees at the distribution center. I brought down an air tag. Basically, the order was for like another 2,500 square feet. So what we did was we took only 3 cartons, and we put the air tag into one of the cartons, wrapped it up, made it look, like inconspicuous. We executed the order again, and their guys came to pick up the order. I had communicated with the distributor to call me immediately when they got there. So they showed up, they called me and said, yeah, they're here. They wrote down their license plate number and the description of the van. I think it was a white ProMaster Dodge Ram van, and they gave me the license plate number. They took the bait, they put it in their van. I immediately got in my car in Boulder, drove down the highway to Denver, started seeing the air tag move around. It would, pick up their location very sporadically. So anyways, long story short, I spent about an hour driving around Denver trying to chase this air tag. And long story short, it ended up getting lost. Like the signal stopped moving basically, and it was in this one spot in the middle of the highway. And I happened to just be driving down this road, and I looked over into this little shopping center, and I noticed a white ProMaster van. And so I spun back around, went into the parking lot, and sure enough, the license plate matched up, and it was the van. Never confront the suspects. Never get an altercation with them. Call the local authorities. So that's what I did. I parked away from the van, called the Aurora Police Department, and they dispatched like 5 cop cars to this location. And ended up interacting with the the individual who owned the van. Basically, I sat in my car for about an hour while they were going back and forth talking to this individual. And basically, long story short, they asked the guy if he had picked up any other orders throughout the week, and he said, "Yeah, they're all at my house in my garage, and you can come get them." So that was kind of, um, I guess, a very successful ending to this story. Is that we were led to this individual's garage, and there were like literally probably 10 pallets of hard surface and rolls of carpet and pad in this individual's garage. And it became very apparent to me that this was more of a ringleader kind of orchestrated kind of group of individuals that were carrying out these scams. So we ended up getting back 90% of our product, and that was, a very successful ending to this scam. But those are definitely some red flags and things you need to watch out to, and kind of our story of what happened. So moving forward, especially with some of the technology we have these days, I want to give you some safeguards for future fraud and how to deal with these scams. So for us going forward, we do a 3-point verification. So one, we need to have a photocopy of the individual's ID. The payment method needs to match up to that individual's name and also address on their ID. And then three, you just need, an in-person visual of that person. So either that's coming into your store, or you can also, if that's not possible, you can also do like a video conference and have that individual be live in front of you on the video conference and have them hold up their ID. For us, that's basically how we go forward with this. And also just to trust your gut. If it just seems too good to be true and it's just too easy of a sell, then it's probably a scam. So I guess, just to recap, 3-point verification, trust your gut, and then if you want to go even deeper, when you get the payment and it comes through your payment processor, in our case it's Broadlume Payments, we can go into our dashboard and actually look at the individual's payment information. So like all their PIIs or personal identification information. So like make sure that their payment matches up to their real name. So like Jim Smith is not like a Nancy, Ogden or something in Omaha, Nebraska. So making sure that the payment information on the processor side matches up to who that individual is, because you don't want to be, releasing $1,000 worth of product to someone that's using someone else's credit card or bank information. So another thing that I would also say is to, give it 24 hours until you release the product. Maybe do the transaction, get the payment, and then do all your background investigation. Do the video conference, do the in-person thing. Get the sale, but also still be very safeguarded and don't release that product until you know 100% that everything is good and you have green flags. Another great thing is that Broadlume Payments has an email notification that you can set up to get alerts when individuals or customers make payments but they fail. In our situation, if we saw 3 or 4 failed payments come through, it probably would have prompted us to go look at the dashboard and see what's going on, and probably would have led us to see that they were trying to run different individuals' credit cards in succession, which would have been a huge red flag for us.
All right. So, as we're coming out of that incredible story from the one and only Jarrus Steele, and looking at everyone's comments here, it looks like you guys enjoyed that as well. But you have 2 of our role-playing actors in that skit. Chris as the common RSA, and I may or may not have been the scammer. So we're here to answer your questions. Jarrus is also in the chat, so drop him any questions that you might have in YouTube as well. But as you can see, we're actually at the NWFA Expo right now, so apologies that we're not in our normal environment, but Chris is back at home, So if the sound's too much, I will switch on and off. But we want to quickly see any questions that people might have and pulling up a few. Let's get the first question up. Okay, what about verification for cash and carry customers? That's a great one. Cash and carry, obviously, slightly different model than most of the retailers. Chris, what would be your recommendation here? And Chris, unless it's me, I think you might be muted.
Yep, sorry about that. Make sure that you get all the information that Jarrus was speaking about. Remember when we all used to go to a bank and you had to perform all kinds of identification checks? So you would have to give a copy of your driver's license. You would have to have a smiley face. You can't be wearing a hood. Just do all those things to make 100% certain that you gain all the information that matches just exactly the way that Jarrus stated.
All right, and sorry, we do have people on the floor, so if you see me get slightly distracted, that is why. But yes, and Mr. Buckles is calling it out as well. Another red flag. If someone's indifferent to the product, right, that should be a big call out. It was one of our red flags, and I know a lot of people don't want to lose the sale, right? There's real concerns about, I don't want to ask too many questions. I don't want to work my way out of this. What is the best way for me to get these gut checks? Look, this is your business. It's an expensive product. You shouldn't lose a sale just by asking qualifying questions and asking people to verify their identity. As Chris mentioned, that is a very common practice and one that a legit customer shouldn't be concerned about. So let's pull up another question that we got. Okay. Seeing a lot here. On that, this is the same story that people had. So just to recap, right, the person came in, were relatively indifferent about the product, had a large amount of square footage that they wanted, different name, didn't match the ID. These are all things that should stick out to you as much as possible. And, as much as you can, you want to safeguard your business as best as possible. Using things like Broadlume Payments, it's going to send you that email notification that Jarrus mentioned is going to be huge. Look, sometimes people don't actually have the funds. And just because the payment doesn't go through doesn't mean that it's a fraud instance. But small things like this help you elevate that situation, escalate it to someone in the store where you can then maybe get, some help, ask some more questions and try to see, is this a real person? Or, is this actually going to be fraud? So when you're looking at those things, really important to go through that 3-point checklist to make sure that those are legitimate opportunities. And when you're thinking about, payments or fraud or scammers, right, they're always going to try to stay generic. They're always going to try to hide behind some sort of proverbial mask or something like that. Okay, it looks like we have a couple questions here, a couple more comments. Wow. Okay. Seems like Janice had a guy edit his driver's license to make it different. So again, these scammers are getting very, very smart. Jarrus talked about it early in the clip. This isn't like, some guy who's scratching out one number on a credit card or an ID and trying to pull one over on you. These are very sophisticated, elaborate scams. They understand how technology works. They understand the loopholes and where they can apply pressure to steal from you. So, you're going to see, and I'm looking at all these stories that everyone's sharing right now. People are getting more sophisticated, right? Looks like Matt listened in on one of these calls a couple of weeks ago. Even when they're, suspicious, you have to trust your gut more often than not. We also, again, when we were first talking to Jarrus about this story, we were telling him that after this webinar, we should all buy Apple stock because all retailers are going to go out and buy those little $49 air tags. I think you get a pack of 2 or 3. But if you think about protecting your investment, you don't have to put that in every order. But the ones that might be sketchy, it might be worth dropping in an air tag just to give yourself some backup. Looks like we also have Kelly on our team joining in to help answer Paula's questions. It can sometimes take 7 days for an ACH to be clawed back, so it can look very legit. So again, while ACHs are legit, right, after a couple of failed payments, and then they go to that, that also might be a warning flag for fraud. And yes, people are giving me weird stares. I'm just walking around with my laptop here, sort of just talking to myself. But look, yeah, it looks like everyone has a lot of, okay, Jamie at Pro Flooring LLC. Google AirTag. It's an Apple AirTag. If you have a Apple device or a different, they also have other sort of beacons that aren't synced to Apple, but it's essentially like a tracking beacon or monitor. But if you look up Apple AirTag Jamie, that should help you understand what we're talking about. And you can see Jarrus, his team actually cut open the box, put the AirTag in there, and then they were able to track it on their phone. No problem, Jamie. But yeah, look, there's many things you can do to safeguard yourself. But the biggest thing, and we actually didn't talk about this, the biggest thing that you can do, talk to your team. It's one thing for you to have all this knowledge, for you to understand the safeguards. If the people that are operating your store and the people that are actually selling the product don't know what things to look out for, make them watch this video. You know, ask them some basic questions on these things, like how many of them know what PII is? How many know should be matching the payment name information to the credit card, right? All these things are super important. Yeah, you can have one. Again, live on the floor. You know, it's not just having this knowledge yourself. Share it out. It's going to make your store a better operation. Chris, I'm talking a lot. I know I'm trying to. Yeah, I don't have.
You're doing a wonderful job
here.
And kudos as the bad actor. Absolutely. So, a couple of things. If your salespeople get a cash and carry call, again, please verify all that information. If they just are nonchalant and they want whatever you've got on sale, red flag. If they want no specific color, red flag. If they're sending a truck to come get this wonderful product and the truck doesn't have a license plate, these are real life examples, red flag. There's Mr. Martin Parker. He's one of our salespeople. So just be cautious.
Martin knows about the red flags.
Martin Parker's red flag. So just please be cognizant of all the different things. Like Jarrus said, trust your gut. If you get a phone call and they're wanting 3,000 square foot of anything and they're sending a driver, absolutely verify all information before you complete that sale. As Kelly alluded to, it takes 7 days for an ACH to be verified in some cases by the host bank. Credit cards, they can take up to 30 days. So you want to gain as much information as you can to make 100% certain your client is not a bad actor or a wonderful bad actor like Jeff was.
Yes. I think we take the cake with bad acting there. So, all right, and Matt Sloan, he's seen a rash of people calling in and emailing to change ACH payment information for sellers. So look, you guys are starting to pick up on the trend, right? And I'm not going to be able to tell you one thing that's going to solve it all, but understanding all the different ways that people try to go about scamming your store, over time, it's going to stick out like a red thumb. Wow. Okay, we still got a lot going on. When they claim to work for a contractor, we had one meeting, blew down for a job when they're in town using his own credit card. Chris, do you have a recommendation for that one?
If they're trying to use their own credit card for a company order, again, just do your verification. Just ask them if they have a driver's license. Make sure that they sign a customer receipt. Go through all the motions that you would with any other client just to make 100% certain that they can't do a dispute. You can get with your credit card companies, your merchants directly to find out exactly what they need for disputes. You can Google disputes and they will tell you. You can find out what kind of information that they require. So you're going to need proof of identification, like picture ID. You're going to need address. You're going to need a sales receipt. You're going to need signatures. Please get all that information. If they just say, here, I want to throw it on this card, but I don't want to sign anything, and I don't want to give you any proof of anything. Again, like Jarrus said, trust your gut. That's the biggest piece of advice that I can give you. If it doesn't feel right, most of the time it is not. So with all that, just please be careful out there and get as much information as you possibly can.
Yeah, no job is worth getting scammed the amount of time and effort and stress that's going to add to your business is just, we already know that retailers have to do a lot, right? And this is just one other thing that you're going to have to add to the mix that's just not pleasant. Here we go. John Weller wants to make a little webinar cameo. Jamie said they had that all and still disputed and lost. Jamie, I don't know who the bank is, but I would probably start to look at a different financial institution. If you had all that information, they're still not honoring that scam. I like the other Jamie comment of Pro Flooring LLC. Again, no deal is worth breaking your back and getting frauded. If they can't stop by the shop, don't sell to them. I think Jarrus also gave a really good piece of advice here, which was even hop on a Zoom there and ask them to hold up their ID. There's ways for you to virtually do this. And look, not everything's going to be 100% working, will work 100%. But again, you'll start to see people get squeamish when you ask them for very basic ways for them to verify, their information. Then things just don't match up. Your gut's going to tell you this is probably a scam. It's probably fraud. And we also know that it's a hard thing to talk about, right? People don't want to talk about having, being frauded or being scammed. So that's why we're trying to start bringing this out to the open. We can tell you it happens to a lot of us. We actually had a lot of people respond to our email this morning about this webinar about how much they actually got defrauded. So look, if you're looking for more ways to help, Broadlume Payments can definitely add a huge safeguard for you to make sure that you're not getting these things, and at least you're getting that flow of information. I love seeing the community going back and forth here talking about ways to solve this. So I don't want to shut down the webinar quite yet, but the two Jamies are doing some great knowledge sharing. Back to Janice Howell. Yes, this will be stored on Broadlume, and you can have your on the Broadlume YouTube channel. We'll also have a recap on our website where we break down some things we covered. And it looks like Paula agrees with Jamie. CC system down, very smart. So make sure that you think about those other ways for you to get those individuals to pay, to get that information, and to not get frauded. I'm trying to see how many people we still have. 83 folks hanging out here. So we're here to answer your questions. You can also ask questions. It looks like the community is going to help answer that. So we want to keep facilitating as much education and knowledge sharing as possible. I'll stand here all day if the other 83 folks are here to make sure that we're sharing out this information as much as possible. So any other questions that people have? Chris is one of our payments experts. His team deals with this a lot, and they know the best ways to avoid it every day. And again, imagine if you're working with a credit card payment that didn't give you notifications on failed transactions. Based on the timelines that we were just talking about, 7 days, ACH, up to a month, there's a good chance that there's a lot of instances that people are calling back and saying that those aren't real charges, and you're not going to find out for a couple weeks. So, again, safeguard yourself as much as possible. Use technology to your advantage because others are trying to use it to, unfortunately, steal from you. Okay, somehow we added one or two more people in here. All right, there are no other questions. Again, I can just talk about anything you guys want, but we are here to answer your questions on scams, fraud, ways to safeguard. I can have Martin come and talk about business management software if that'd be helpful. Again, we are here at your disposal. Any other questions? If not, we can shut this down. Okay, we're starting to lose some folks, down 79. So it looks like this webinar has probably run its course. Next week, join us. We won't be at a trade show, but we will be back sort of in the studio. Very special webinar with Buddy and Karen Mitchell of Simply Floors, John Weller, our Chief Innovation Officer, and Neil Daly, our VP of Merchandising at Broadlume. Going to be talking to you about how to build a world-class shop-at-home business. Neil did this for a very massive company for a number of years. Karen and Buddy run a very successful business out in Colorado that I believe started shop at home. They actually got into some brick and mortar, but they'll tell you the full story next week. And of course, we always appreciate John Weller joining any conversation. So that's coming to you next Wednesday. Thank you for joining. If you have any questions, respond to email. We'll look at every email. We'll respond to everyone. Reach out to Chris. And we actually might have a special offer for payments to help people protect themselves as best as possible. And here, Jay, one last thing. If you're able to check parcel IDs for the client, see if they match. So again, going back to one of the things that Jarrus said, making sure that all customer touch points match up to their ID. So, all right, thank you, the Jamies, the Paulas. We had a few others, the Janices of the world, the Matts, the Christines. We'll always give you guys shout outs. We really appreciate you helping out. Thank you to Chris. Thank you to Kelly. Thank you to MC on our team. And that is us for another wonderful episode of Webinar Wednesdays. Watch this, share it with your team, but most importantly, have a wonderful week, y'all.